Is Honkai Star Rail worth it? Today, I'm going to be talking about my perspective of Honkai Star Rail. It's been about, I want to say, 5 days since the game has been out, and coming from a Genjin background, I'll try and just present all the similarities with the game, and I would like to say the main difference between the game and how they're both played, and whether you ultimately should play Honkai Star Rail. Alright, so first and foremost, let's talk about the similarities within Honkai Star Rail versus Genshin Impact. I won't go through every single detail, but I'll try and give at least the main similarities and the main difference between both games, and ultimately again whether you should try Honkai Star Rail or not. If you play Genshin Impact, this is the character screen, so it's very easy to familiarize this with Genshin. So this is where all your characters are, right? So you can see my MC, my Trailblazer right there, March 7, Natasha, Himiko, etc, etc. So all my characters are listed here in the character menu. So very similar to Genshin Impact, you have all the details of the stats. So in Genshin Impact, you'd have more details, I think, or details down here, where you can see all the stats of your characters. So you have your HP, your attack, defense, speed, how quickly you attack, crit damage, and everything else is there listed as well. So very similar to Genshin Impact. You also have your skill, so you can see your stats here. This, I would like to say, is basically your talents in comparison to Genshin. So you know how in your Genshin Impact, you have your auto attacks, you have your elemental skill, you have your elemental burst. Here, you have your basic attacks, so you can see all the modifiers for your basic attack there. You have your talent skill, you have your burst, this is your ultimate in Star Rail terms, and then you have your technique, which you can use outside of combat. I'll kind of try and maybe show you that later on. And then you have your skill. So all your talents and your skills, how your character works, you can see them here under the skill tab. Alright, so if we move on to light cones, if you don't know what this is your weapons in Honkai Star Rail. So you know in Genshin Impact, you have your sword, claymore, polearm, catalyst, and bow. In this game, there's different paths. So for the MC right now, I think I'm on Fire MC. Yeah, I'm on Fire MC. She has the path of preservation. So this is essentially like a weapon type. So light cones are weapons in Honkai Star Rail. As you can see here, this is 4 stars. I believe it goes from 3 to 5 stars. You know, in Genshin Impact, you have like 1-star weapons, 2-star weapons, etc, etc. Obviously, they're not as good, but you do have 3 stars to 5-star light cones in Honkai Star Rail. I don't know if there's 1 or 2 stars. I could be wrong. I don't think there is. But anyways, I have a 4-star light cone on my Fire MC, so you can see the star rarity of the light cone here. Again, your weapons in Honkai Star Rail. This is the main stat. It's HP, I believe, and then you have 2 substats. So in terms of Genshin Impact, you would have the base attack, and then you have the main stat on the weapon. So it could be crit rate, crit damage, maybe HP percentage, etc, etc, right? So you'd have that one main stat in Genshin Impact, and then you'd have the base attack of the weapon, and then you'd have the passive. So very similar to Genshin in a sense. So traces, this is essentially your talents in terms of Genshin Impact. If you don't play Genshin, again, don't worry, I will explain it. So this is where you level up your skills, right? So you have your basic attack, and then you have your talent, ultimate, etc, etc. It's a little more in depth compared to Genshin, where you have, again, your basic attack, you have your elemental skill and elemental burst. It's only 3 talents. There's a lot more to do in terms of Honkai Star Rail, in terms of your talents, in comparison to Genshin. Crafting materials that you need to further level up your traces in Honkai Star Rail. So that's pretty much it. So common reference in Genshin, talents. Alright, so moving on to the relics. Your relics in Honkai Star Rail is essentially your artifacts in Genshin. So as you can see here, I have Space Sealing Station 2-piece, and then I have the 4-piece of Firesmith of Lava Forging. So this 4-piece is the Lava Forging, right? So you have that 4-piece, and then you have 2 additional ornaments that you can get in this game. Once I believe you get to like 24 plus Trailblaze level in Star Rail, you'll unlock that. And this is like an extra 2 pieces you can build on your characters, right? So then in Genshin, you'd have your plum, your flower, sands, goblet, and circlet. This game, there is 6 pieces of artifacts. So you have the main 4 that you get, and these 2 you get from Similar Universe, so I won't talk about too much about that. There's 6 pieces of artifacts in Star Rail compared to the 5 in Genshin. So Eidolons are essentially your constellations in Genshin reference. If you don't play Genshin, this is your way to make your character stronger once you get duplicates of the same character. So this is the main character. Actually, let me go to a different character. So this is Natasha. She is on the banner, which I'll show very shortly. And if you get duplicates of the character, right, in the Eidolon system, each duplicate you get, there is a passive depending on the Eidolon. Again, referred to constellations in Genshin Impact. And the more Eidolons you get, the stronger the character will be. So as you can see, my Natasha is Eidolon 4, so E4. So each Eidolon will make the character stronger. So that's pretty much all you need to know. Alright, so now we're gonna quickly talk about the warp system, which is essentially where you'll pull for new characters. So if you play Genshin, it is literally the exact same thing as Genshin, right down to the T pretty much. And if you don't play Genshin, I'll try and go through it very quickly. Alright, so this is the character limited banner, so your character adventure warp. You have Sealy, she's the first limited 5-star in the game. You have the weapon banner, so this is your light cones, right? So you have a 5-star light cone for Sealy, and then you have the standard banner. There was also a beginner banner, which I would do want to similarize with Genshin's beginner wish banner, the Noel one. I think it was 2 multis, you get the guaranteed Noel. Something along the lines of that. In Star Rail, it's basically, you get a discount of 20%. You pull 40 times, which equals 50 pulls, and within 50 guaranteed pity on that banner, you get a free 5-star. So it's very, very easy to get a 5-star in this game. Once you get to the Trailblaze level 15, which takes a few hours, you get your free 5-star in Star Rail. So it's very, very easy. But anyways, let me just show you the rates really quickly here. So again, you have Sealy on the limited banner here. So Sealy is the first limited 5-star. And then you have the 3 4-stars on the banner. So very, very similar to Genjin, where you have 3 4-stars on the Genjin banner with the 5-star that's rated up. So you have Sealy, you have Natasha, Pela, and Hook. So you have those characters on the banner. And if I go down to the rates very, very quickly here. All right, if we go down to the rates here, if I can find it. So every 10 pulls, you get a 4-star either light cone or character. So it's the exact same thing as Genjin. Every 10 pulls, you get a 4-star. And then every hard 90, so every right here, every hard 90 warps, you get a 5-star. So it's literally the same thing as Genjin. If this is your first gacha game and you've never played gacha games before, essentially, you won't have to pull endlessly to get a 5-star. You'll have a hard guaranteed pity at hard 90, which means every 90 pulls, at max, you'll get a 5-star character in the game, right? And every 10 warps, 10 pulls, max, you get a guaranteed 4-star character or light cone. So you don't have to worry about like pulling again endlessly. Eventually you'll have that guaranteed character. So at the end of the day, when you do 90 pulls, you get a 5-star character. So with the weapon banner, again the light cone banner, it is the same thing as Genjin. So every 80 pulls, you will get the 5-star light cone. Alright, so if I show the pity right here, so every 80 warps, so same thing as Genjin, every 80 pulls in Genjin, you get a 5-star weapon. In this game, every 80 pulls on a weapon banner, you get a 5-star light cone. So every 80 warps, the pulls in Honkai Star Rail, you're guaranteed the 5-star light cone. And then every 10 warps, you get either the character or the light cone on the weapon banner. So one of the main differences I do want to bring up with Star Rail versus Genshin Impact with the standard banner. So on standard banner on Genshin Impact, it's obviously hard 90 to either get a 5-star character or a 5-star weapon. In Star Rail, you do have that here, which I'll show you guys very, very quickly. It is every 90 warps, so right here, every 90 warps guarantees you a 5-star character or a light cone. So it's the exact same thing as Genshin. It does have that hard 90 pity. The main difference, I don't know if this is a one-time thing only. The initial 300, again, I don't know if there's another one. The initial 300 pulls you do on the standard banner, you can guarantee a 5-star character. So on Genshin Impact, Genshin does not have this. I kind of wish it did, because I'm still dying for Tenari constellations and Dia constellations on Genshin, so that would be kind of nice. But on Star Rail, at least, when you do 300 pulls on standard banner, you can guarantee a 5-star unit that you want, right? So let's say you really want a welt for whatever reason. When you do 300 pulls on standard, you can get the welt. If you want a Bronya, for example, right, then you can get a Bronya, etc., etc. So at least at the end of the day, you can guarantee that 5-star standard character that you really want once you do 300 warps on the standard banner in Star Rail. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how the combat system works in Star Rail. Obviously, this is going to be the main difference between Genshin and Star Rail. Star Rail being a turn-based game and Genshin Impact being more of an open world RPG. So there is, I guess, kind of an open world, not really, but it's not, obviously it's not as big as Genshin Impact, so do keep that in mind. This is kind of like how the map would look. So you can kind of roam around in here within the confinements of this area, right? So there's an enemy right in front of me. I have a technique. So these techniques, let me just open this up to show you guys here. Different characters will have different techniques which you can use to engage in combat, or kind of like buff yourself before combat. So with the Pyro MC, this Pyro MC can basically give you like a defense buff and give you a tank or a shield that will absorb more damage before combat. So if I press my E here, right? If I do that, you can kind of see the shield buff, right? And if I go to status effects, by pressing U, at the start of the next battle, gains a shield that absorbs damage equal to 30% of the Trailblazer's defense plus 384 lasting 1 turn, right? So you can kind of buff yourself pre-combat with certain techniques depending on the character. If I go to March 7, let me just show you this really quickly here as well. If I go to her technique, right, under the skill tab, technique, immediately attack the enemy. After entering battle, there's a 100% base chance to freeze a random enemy for 1 turn. So different characters will have different techniques which you can kind of strategize before you go into combat within Star Rail. So if you look under here, you have all these elements, right? So you have like the quantum, the ice, physical fire, etc., right? These elements are the weakness to the enemy. So if you use certain elements, right now I'm on March 7, she's an ice character, you can kind of see the glowing ice icon on the enemy, and that means I can apply a debuff onto the enemy. So certain characters that you have on your team and certain enemies you fight, you can apply weaknesses to kind of give you an advantage before you fight the enemy, if that makes any sense. So again, with March 7's technique, so if I go back to the technique again, if I use the E skill, which is the technique button, I can apply a freeze onto one of the random enemies. Okay, so there's 2 ways to engage with enemies in this game. So again, you have the technique option, right, depending on the character you want to use, and you have the basic attack. You kind of got to use your better judgment on how you want to engage with the enemy prior to combat. So I'm going to use my technique here, right? So that'll apply the weakness debuff with ice, and it should freeze one enemy. So luckily, I guess I got 2 freezes there. which is kind of nice. Alright, so let me kind of explain how the combat system works. It's not too complex, the tutorial in the game will go through it. So all your characters on your team will share skill points, and to get your skill points again is your Q, to use the skill point is your E, so you need a skill point to use your E skill on each of your characters, right? So you can kind of see the icon here, I have 4 out of 5 skill points. So if I use my Q right here, I get 5 skill points, right? And then if I use my E on Natasha, for example, right, it will use the skill point. So that's essentially how the combat system works. So Q, you get a skill point, E will consume a skill point. So this is kind of like similar to Genshin, where like you have your auto and your skill, I guess, is what I would like to like compare it to in Genshin terms. This game obviously has bursts, so your ultimates in Honkai Star Rail terms. So you have the 1, 2, 3, and 4, obviously, of all your characters, right, on the team. So if I use my March 7 burst, I press 2, it does AoE damage, press space, and then there's the ultimate in Star Rail, so your elemental burst in Genshin terms. So it's very similar in that aspect, it's just obviously this is a turn-based game, and again, Genshin is an open-world RPG game. So there's a little bit of similarities in like, I guess the autos and skills and bursts, but ultimately this is going to be the main difference with Star Rail over Genshin Impact. That is pretty much it for Star Rail in terms of how the game works and how it compares to Genshin. I obviously have a Genshin background, I've been playing the game since day 1, and I've been playing pretty much every day of Genshin since the release of the game, so I have a lot of experience in that game, and I know a lot of you may have experience in Genshin as well, and you may be wondering whether you should play Star Rail or not. So overall, I feel like if you are on the fence, if you do not like turn-based game, then obviously you're not going to enjoy Star Rail. The main combat system is based around turn-based. So if you don't like turn-based, you're not going to like Star Rail, I would like to say. But if you're on the fence on whether you should play Star Rail or not, if you have the storage to do so, because I know some of you may be on mobile, maybe you don't have the storage, maybe you do and you're contemplating whether to play the game or not. If you're on the fence, I would honestly give it a try, as honestly in my opinion, it is a lot of fun. I know the game is obviously very, very new, it's been like 5 days, and there's a lot of hype about the game, but if you have a bit of free time and you are looking for a game to play on the side, I would definitely check out Honkai Star Rail. The game is obviously free, I understand it's a gacha game, okay, but like you can try the game out, free to play, and you just go from there, see if you want to continue playing the game or not, right? It's a free game, if you have the storage, check it out. That is ultimately my recommendation. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this Star Rail video. Let me know if you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below whether you're playing Star Rail or not, whether you want to check it out or not. If this video even helped you, let me know. I'll be reading all the comments as usual. But hopefully you guys all enjoyed the video again. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff. Love you boys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Told my brothers one day we gon' make it. We just gotta grind for that paycheck. Mama told me one day I'll be famous. Remember when she used to say she hate this? That ended with life when I say shit.